are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back.
You like my hat?
Can I talk?
I was just wondering if you like my hat.
We back. Open gym episode. Don't know. Presented by Mojo Source Gear.
See, this is why you can't talk. You don't know nothing.
One job.
Just one.
One job.
Presented by Mojo Source Gear. It's your boy Rondell back in the producer chair with Marvell. And
You
T.
not learn nothing in class? Didn't they tell us not to say this is your boy?
Oh, they did say that, didn't they?
Yeah, and then like you a boy? Like I thought you was
this your boy.
Look, it's your host.
Drew.
It's your host with the most.
This your
Rondell
host with the
in
most.
producer chair.
Not
Here
the
we-
host with the most. You bring the least of the show.
Why'd you just do the we back?
You're trying too much, bro.
You just
You
tired,
thought of this and it
bro.
just came out?
I am tired.
it's like he raps somebody else's verses. Like, bro, you have
You
your
don't, even, you don't
verse.
even rap it with enthusiasm.
You the
That's
hook
crazy
man.
part.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I am
Nate
tired,
Dogg.
bro. I had an early morning and y'all just come on, bro.
We'll make it later.
How are y'all feeling, bro?
I feel good. You know that I would now.
I'm alright.
So good.
I don't know about this character over here, but
So good.
I got you.
Dun, 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 dun. Ow! Boom, 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 dun, dun,
Man, y'all
dun.
make this loud all the time. I gotta check these levels.
Do you want to start with the show? Because we're just getting relaxed over here.
I mean, it's your job though that make sure the levels is together.
So what are you
What are
doing?
you talking about, bro? That sounded
Ronald?
beautiful.
All right, bro. So let's start the show.
Thank
First
you.
segment.
About time.
Today, like
Today, nothing. First segment. What the buck? Y'all want to start that off? It's about the Milwaukee Bucks. They just got what? Eliminated yesterday.
4-1.
dang.
Hey, let's start it off. What y'all gotta say?
Well, it happened again. It happened again. Kawhi went all the way to the Western Conference, and it still happened to the Bucks.
I'm so sorry.
I wonder where he was going with that. I'm like, why?
I thought he was like, what did Kawhi do?
I mean, naturally, you would have thought the big bully out there, he would have took care of that by being somewhere else. You know, you don't have to go that route anymore. So you ain't getting punched in the face anymore because the bully done moved. At least that's what you thought. Except Jimmy Butler's the new bully that came.
Giannis was hurt.
Man, his pride was hurt. I mean, his ankle was a little tender. I give him that, but his pride was more hurt than anything. They weren't winning anyway. Middleton's a bum, just like I've sat here on this very, very season. Middleton's a bum.
That's wild.
Middleton's a bum. Bledsoe's a bum.
Blood's-
Yes, Coach Bud coached like a bum. There was a lot of bumness out on that court, and they got bummed out of there.
This man got a lot to say.
It's just, I mean, because you wasted my time. And I picked him too, so I'm a little upset. And the reason I picked him is because I thought Kawhi was out. He was gone. So he you had to worry about that. But apparently that Miami team is something to worry about.
Hold up. Did we all pick them for the finals?
I know I did.
I feel like I did.
I regretted it ever since game 1 between the Magic.
Dang, they let the whole squad down. That's crazy.
That's what you should have known after game 1. Like they came out,
The whole squad down.
stuck up the joint. I mean, they let me down because at the end of the day, I'm still a Cavs fan. Like, regardless of that. But I mean, it's just Giannis needs to get better. Like you would think, oh, it's the reigning MVP. He needs to get better.
To be honest, James Harden said it best. Like, you 7 feet tall and you just run and dunk the ball in the
Yeah.
basket. Ain't no skill.
At this point in his life, Giannis is a better NBA 2K player than he is an actual player.
Oh, 2K sucks this year too.
It is Giannis don't. I can guarantee you he's unfair on that game. It just doesn't translate to the actual basketball court unless I'm going to have to play with Miami when I do play, because that's apparently their Achilles heel.
You're petty.
They prepared for that. I mean, that's why they made the moves that they moved. That's why you bring in a Jay Crowder. That's why you bring in Andre Iguodala. You know, that's why you bring in a Jimmy Butler, because not only can they guard Giannis to an extent, they can get in their heads. And then Miami, they punked the rest of those punks, because that's what happened. Milwaukee's rest of their core, like Giannis he was all right. I mean, he probably averaged 20 something, 11 rebounds, somewhere around there. But You needed Giannis to go crazy, and he couldn't go crazy because there were so many bodies at him, and he doesn't have that game to elevate. You put Kevin Durant in that same spot, whole different situation. Put LeBron in that same spot, whole different situation. Kawhi in that same spot, whole different situation. Giannis has to get better, flat out. And he's the straw that stirs that drink. But Middleton is the other piece of that puzzle that didn't show up. And you have no that one game and this one time at band camp. But at the end of the day, he needs to be, if not the second best player on that whole entire court, third. And I think there was often times that Middleton ended up lost. Last night he went 8 for 25. You're supposed to be the man. This is your time to go off and go crazy. 8 for 25. Take it by himself home. Marvell, you go ahead. Have at it before I get mad. Before they make me mad. It's too early.
All right, so this is going to start looking like the prime example of Giannis Antetokounmpo being Russell Westbrook on stilts.
Dang, you gonna Westbrook him?
This might be the occasion. Look at it, like you can trust them both from three. They're your best friend. Even the rim is going to stare at him like. I mean, they are so dominant when they drive. They are very uber athletic. They're very aggressive in their play. There's a lot of comparisons between the two. I mean, just think about it. If you just made Russell Westbrook 7 foot tall, would he not be Giannis?
That's a good point.
They play roughly the same. It's just mostly like you look at it too. I don't know if Milwaukee knows what they're doing as far as building around him.
They do in the regular season.
And it's looking like for that too. Like the regular season is starting to make Giannis' stats and his accolades very empty because of his what he can do in the playoffs, and it just won't matter.
I mean, technically, Westbrook's was empty in the regular season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it looks more empty due to the lack of playoff success. You see what I mean?
Right.
It just means like you can be the best regular season dude, but when it comes to things that matter the most, you're not there. And we've been seeing that if it wasn't for James Harden, because Westbrook didn't play the majority of the series against OKC, if it wasn't for James Harden, Russell Westbrook would have still never made it past the first round since 2014.
You sure you want to just give that to James? You don't want to give it to the whole Rockets squad?
That was a great D, that last block, though.
But what I'm saying is it's harder for you to do that especially when you've been seeing how Westbrook has been playing ever since he came back from his injury in the playoffs. So it's kind of hard to give that to him.
He had to find his rhythm.
That's fine and all, but at the same time, when you look at some of the key moments that Russell Westbrook had, like turning over the ball.
I mean, plus from every highlight that I've seen, he had LeBron on him. I can't say what I want to say, but he had LeBron all on him.
Yeah, but because like you just don't get someone that explosive any type of room or energy for them to be more explosive and have more momentum.
With that, right, you got the best player on the floor constantly on you, making sure you don't explode, don't get your points, and you just coming off an injury. It's hard to find your rhythm like that.
But it's also the fact that again he had a couple of games at OKC. What did he play? 3? He played 3 games against OKC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but then that's the team that knows him best. It's not like that team ain't the same team that he played with. And that coach, that's been his coach since he got in the league.
They made a couple of trades.
No,
it hasn't.
They got Scotty Brooks. Then they get Billy Donovan.
That's crazy.
Poor Scotty Brooks. He goes to Washington and gets forgotten.
That's tough. That's really actually tough, though.
Yeah.
See?
Wow.
But no, back to it. Like, Giannis, I feel like he's already given up. Like, he's already mentally gone out of the Milwaukee organization.
I don't know about that. He said he's not going nowhere.
Kyrie said the same thing.
Believe
They're two different people, but at the same time, you can't trust an athlete in today's society of saying what they're going to stay or where they're going to go.
That man said the world was flat. Do you believe everything that come out of Kyrie's mouth?
I don't believe majority of what comes out of Kyrie's mouth. I believe in his basketball skills. As far as a human being,
sometimes that man be a little loopy what he be talking about.
Sure, But at the same time, we are talking about the exact profession here of just staying and going. It's a little bit more serious than that. You have a lot of tempting offers for Giannis here. You have Miami. Tempting, but will it fit? I mean, you don't need it now that you were able to prove that you were able to beat him.
Right.
But I guess it would be another KD situation. If you don't beat him, join him. And then
Right.
you have, speaking of beating him and joining him, you have Golden State, who
Do
has
they
what
even
a
really
top
have
3
enough-
pick in this year's draft, right?
Do they even have enough room to get him? Any cap space? What they cap space?
They don't have cap space to do it. They could swing a trade here and there, but
Yeah, they'll probably have to get rid of Draymond. They'll have to get rid of a couple other players. They'll probably have to get rid of Wiggins.
They would literally have to get rid of like half their bench.
And you think they won't do it?
That's a good point. They did clear their bench. from KD.
I will clear out my whole organization for Steph, Clay, and Giannis on my organization.
I'd throw up in my mouth if that happened. No.
Wait,
That would just be absurd. That wouldn't be fair. So
I'm starting to feel like I'm gonna throw up now, just the thought of it.
and then the other teams that might have a bit of a chance. I don't know. Maybe the Clippers if they get rid of Paul George. I think Paul George is what.
they like to get rid of more than Paul George.
But what are you not giving up for Giannis? Is the thing.
I mean, but what are you getting with Giannis?
It depends on who's around him.
So you gonna put him on a team and have him be a sidekick? What if he don't want to be a sidekick?
Well, that's kind of the narrative now, isn't it? As Giannis being the sidekick, we don't know yet. My thing is, a lot of the stars in the NBA are sidekick material. You could probably only name 6 players out of everybody in the NBA. That's the number one option in the league.
Let's say LeBron, Kawhi, Steph, KD, Snap,
Harden.
Harden.
Can you win a championship with Harden as your number one option?
That's actually a good question. Can you win a championship?
See, I think you can. It's just
I mean,
like
if he
most
was in
scenarios,
the East, more than likely.
who are you putting around these guys? Because I think over the last few years it was a little skewed because the Warriors are going to win the championship and everybody knew it,
Right.
no matter what. So
I mean, that 1 year, I didn't think they was gonna make it. When the 1 year when not Golden State, the Rockets was up 3-2 on them.
I knew they would still win it. Chris Paul didn't have enough. He was going to be.
I mean, he was also hurt.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but that's the thing about Chris Paul though. Like he can get there.
That could actually be another good episode for our new segment that we're going to be bringing on to today's show.
Oh, what segment is that?
Build a team. So we'll get to that in a second when we get to that part of the show. So
I love how he just takes the producer's job, like for real.
because you're not doing it.
That-
I want to say this though. I think what ultimately happened with Miami and Milwaukee is, and it used to happen with Jordan. Not saying that Jimmy Butler's Jordan, but what I'm saying is Jimmy Butler took it personal that Giannis is going to be the MVP. Jimmy Butler feels like he should be the MVP. Again, not true, but it's that confidence that makes it true. It's the
I love Jimmy.
like
I don't
when
know why I laugh.
Jimmy has that mentality though. It's more so I can be on the court with Giannis and I hear all this hubbub about Giannis. I can shut him down. My team
Right.
can shut him down. We can beat this dude. He ain't better than me. He ain't better than us. He ain't better than our team. And he went out and proved it. That kind of mentality is what allowed Jordan to be the great that Jordan was. And that kind of mentality is what pulls Jimmy Butler's Miami Heat into beating Milwaukee Bucks. Because you have that mentality. You have that strong mindset that the Bucks don't have because they're soft.
Dang.
SAWFT soft.
I'm about to move on to another segment.
Boy,
keep
I have a
calling
question
these
for you
teams
guys,
out.
real quick.
Tell them to come at me. What they gonna do? I go get Jimmy Butler on them.
Dang, that's
I
crazy.
do have a quick question for you guys. So, what do you think is the biggest problem in Milwaukee right now? Is it coaching? Is it Giannis being there? Is it they need more talent around them, or what
It's
do you
more
bring?
talent, most definitely.
I
in
think
my eyes.
they built the team around Giannis to do well in the regular season. I think once the playoffs came, because if you look at who they played and who they didn't play, Ilya playing more. I mean, playing a lot less during in the playoffs. But that takes away from your shooting prowess because he's a shooter. He's not playing though. You got Marvin Williams out there, which ain't the shooter that Ilya is, and he's not making the shots that he needs to make. Chris Middleton bumming it up. Eric Bledsoe bumming it up, and by the way, being hurt that game one. Not knocking him too much for being hurt. I mean, it is what it is. Injuries happen. But at the same time, if I can't rely on you, you're bumming it up. Flat out. Everybody else on that team did not step up. There was nobody else that you can say, well, DiVincenzo had a pretty good. No, he didn't. Connaughton had a good. No, he didn't. Nobody else brought it to play. And I think that they held on to that regular season kind of mantra. Okay, we can still do the same things we were doing next man up. Milwaukee had some stretches where Giannis didn't play, and they may have won a couple games here and there. They had that irrational confidence from the game before that they were able to close that out, but they weren't able to take it to that next level. You got to get the bums out of there and put less bums up in there. So they may need to call Chris Paul up and see what they can do. They may need to dig a little bit deeper. They may need to put that whole roster up for sale because otherwise, that's the only way that they're going to take it to the next level. Because they had a team built around Giannis to win in the regular season. They didn't build a team around Giannis to win in the postseason. That's why they're sitting at home watching the games with us.
Honestly, that's what I was gonna say. They don't have looking at it. They don't really have no one on there with playoff success. True playoff success. I mean, other than George Hill and Corver. But they was on the Cleveland teams that got swept and only got 2 games.
That's where their playoff success comes from.
Yeah, that's what
being on those teams.
They don't really have no real playoff success. So again, a veteran presence like Chris Paul, even though he don't have that great playoff success, would probably help.
But he does have great IQ to match up with Giannis and someone that could spread the floor.
Yeah, that's what they really need. They need someone that can I don't like saying this, but Coach or Maurice Edwards, he had a good point where he was LeBron went to Miami to learn from Wade how to win. That's what Giannis needs. He needs to learn how to win.
Yeah,
right.
So he needs someone like that.
And you got to work on his game too, though, because first of all, you're 54% free throw shooter, 54, 5-4. Both
from free
That's
shooting.
No good, bro. That's no good because at the end of the day, I need my closers to be able to close. If my best player can't close, which that was all right with a guy like Shaq, because Shaq had Kobe. Giannis needs his Kobe. Chris Middleton ain't that Kobe.
Chris Middleton, nice little Sasha Papovich.
He's a glorified third option.
He might be.
He has to be a third option on the squad.
Nice little Larry Hughes.
He might be Rick Fox.
Rick Fox
with more minutes.
I was giving him a number 2 option. Larry Hughes was at least a number 2.
He was looking like Tracy Murray out there. Yeah, I'm cool.
I thought you were about to say Tracy McGrady, but he said
don't
Murray.
Disrespect my guy. Come on, bro. Come on.
That's
you put Tracy McGrady on that team. They going somewhere. He better be happy that was a deleted.
That might be the first time he get out the first round.
Oh jeez.
What?
We'll talk. We'll talk. Don't worry about it.
Well, we're going to move on to the next segment, which is how talented is Boston really? Which, did they win that game?
Yeah. Yes. Blew them out.
Blew them out the water.
Start to finish.
Let's talk about how talented this Celtics team really is.
Boston has that unique blend of steady offense. They can do whatever they want. They just have a style that can fit anything. Just by the players that they have, they're so multi-dimensional and multi-positional that rotations fit almost no matter who you put on the floor. Tatum is emerging. Jaylen Brown is one of the best defenders in the league, and his offense from when he first started out of California University all the way to now has been such a huge leap. It's outstanding to me. Kemba Walker being there, I always said this. There's nothing Kyrie Irving couldn't do that Kemba could do. In a sense of an overall player. There's nothing that Kyrie does that tremendously stands out from Kemba and vice versa.
I'm going to need you to relax. We are not about to – this is not about to be another Tanner situation. I'm not about to be Cody. We not about to argue Kemba and Kyrie. But keep going.
One just has better shooting splits. Barely. Just barely. Other than that, they're the same player. And Kemba Walker, I definitely would lean more towards the leadership role. Absolutely.
I give you that.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
He's just Kyrie Irving as a better leader.
That's only because. Wait, what?
He's Kyrie Irving, but a better leader.
That's only because Kyrie's sporadic.
But here's the thing: what has Kyrie Irving done without LeBron, though?
I mean, what has he really had the chance to do without LeBron? He's been injured a lot of times without LeBron.
Not a lot of times.
I mean, a decent amount.
Well, a lot, but like Kemba's been with the Charlotte Hornets the majority of his career. Just put that into consideration. With Michael Jordan being one of the worst owners in basketball history.
So why does he get a pass but Kyrie doesn't for playing with the Cavs? Those first few years.
I mean, you act like Jordan
because Kyrie Irving had the luxury of having LeBron James at some point in his career, and then Kemba Walker was still stuck in Charlotte.
Kemba had Jordan though.
So if LeBron James was to never make a return to Cleveland, Kyrie Irving and Kemba Walker would have the same exact career.
No, Kyrie Irving would have had Gordon Hayward by that time, and they would have been.
That matters.
Yes,
Gordon Hayward
at that time. Yes,
that much back then.
Yes, it's going to be
been like a glorified little 6-7 seed
in the East.
In the East,
no, they would have been at least a top 5
Hayward
seed.
No.
Gordon Hayward was an all-star.
Oh no!
In the
look
West,
at the roster that he had with them, though.
But in the West, he was making them a contender.
He would have had a different roster out there too, though. A completely different roster. It had Gordon Hayward.
But it's Cleveland's organization. Cleveland wouldn't know what to do with anybody. That's why they lost LeBron. They didn't know what to do with him. They're not going to know what to do with Kyrie.
That's because LeBron didn't get.
Well, the Heat lost LeBron too. So what is that saying?
He wanted to go home.
Okay. Why did he want to go home? There was nothing offering.
Because he finally learned to win, like Rondell said, and he was about to be like, all right, I'm about to take my now winning ways over to Cleveland so I can win at home.
Why did he go to Charlotte then? To help Kemba out because Kemba was so nice.
Because Charlotte. Nobody want to go to Charlotte to play basketball.
I heard nobody want to come to Cleveland. We got the Kane, so.
I mean, if LeBron wasn't from Cleveland, do you think he would really go to Cleveland?
He's not from Cleveland. He's from Akron.
Well, he wasn't from Ohio. Would you think that he would really go back to Cleveland?
Yeah.
No. There's no way.
If Cleveland drafted him, I feel like he would have still went back.
Because if that wasn't a reason to stay, how is that a reason for him to go back?
Because again, he grew up around the area.
He said it was his own stuff. That didn't matter. They hated Cleveland.
But still, he got drafted there, and he got, it's like home love. It's like Ohio, and plus they never won a championship, so you might as well just let that be the president.
All those things were accurate when he left.
All right, but that's like saying
that's a new challenge.
That's like saying Joe Burrow wants to be in Cincinnati. He grew up around in Southeast Ohio. I'm pretty sure he don't want to be there. Come on now.
That's a different scenario though, because
really.
Joe Burrow is nowhere near LeBron yet.
But I'm just saying,
he doesn't have
you're
the pool.
saying that this hometown kid wants to be in his hometown with his hometown team.
But what makes you think that Joe Burrow doesn't want to be in Cincy though?
Come on.
I mean, yeah, the obvious for
an
obvious for the fan, but as a player, like you're going into the league, this is your dream. You're the number one pick. You're in your home state. Like, why would you feel ungrateful?
I'm not saying he feels ungrateful. I'm just saying if he had the opportunity to go somewhere else, who's to say he wouldn't take that opportunity the same way like LeBron? Like LeBron was grateful to get drafted by Cleveland, but if he had the opportunity to go somewhere else, who's to say he wouldn't have went somewhere else?
Why would you not? Because like that's like saying you would just rather just go to a championship team off the rip.
All right.
But anywho, Boston.
That was a tangent, a real tangent.
Super tangent.
Super tangent.
LeBron went back to Cleveland because it was Kyrie Irving there. That's why. Like that was if Cleveland had Kemba Walker, LeBron would have went back.
No, because it was like this. It was more so like, oh, I know what you're going through right now. I'm the best player in the world. I'll go ahead and help you out because I didn't have that in Cleveland.
No, it was more love me. Some people still hate me for the Miami move. It was PR more than anything. And it was right and the wrong too, because he didn't have to do all of that. So it was bigger than that. But at the end of the day, Kyrie Irving on that team didn't hurt. That's what started get the wheels turning. And you could ask LeBron. LeBron would be the first one to tell you. Well, I started getting more interested because I see what Kyrie was doing.
I'm pretty sure he wanted Kyrie out in Los Angeles, wasn't he?
Probably because he's used to winning with them. He's like, oh, yeah, you did good, kid. I can win with you. You know what I'm saying? You want to tag along in L.A.? No? All right. You a little bit crazy anyway. So, that's just how it ended. Like, that's legit it. Right. I felt LeBron James felt bad about Kyrie being in Cleveland, and it was just like, okay, I get it. You know what I'm saying? This is the perfect time for me to come home and help out this kid and win my original team a championship, their first ever championship, and do it for my home state and do it for the people that hate me. All that is a collective. All of it is a collective. It just makes more sense for him to leave because of all those narratives rolling into one.
All right. Okay. So.
But again, back to Boston.
Yeah,
I think
back to Boston.
I think that Boston's dynamic. Back to me with my point of with Kemba. I think Kemba brings a different dynamic because of, again, his different leadership. You don't lose a lot of the same productivity, but at least you get more of a team player. With Kemba Walker, I do believe that with Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart's had a couple of, he always has those few playoff games where he just shows up out of complete nowhere, like offensively, like where he hit the 5 straight threes in the fourth quarter.
I mean, to be honest, he should have been something coming out of college.
Oh yeah, he was dope at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, right.
He was dope, but at the same time, it was just like he turned into more of a defensive product, which is great because again, he made all defensive team. Was it first or second?
I have no clue.
I think it was first. Yeah, he made first team all defense. So with that being said, you have a great perimeter defender coming off the bench with Jaylen Brown. So you're just going to have clamps at the shooting guard position no matter what. That's fantastic. You have great rebounders in Robert Williams and Daniel Theis. Theis? Or is it Tice? I think it's Tice.
Tice.
I think the H is silent. Daniel Tice.
Yeah, it was first team all defensive twice.
Okay. So yeah, you have great rebounders in Tyson, you have great rebounders in Williams, and you have excellent scoring from Tatum, who I'm looking to see if he's going to be a little bit more consistent with his shot selection. I think shot selection is the one thing that damages Tatum the most, but it's not that big of an adjustment that he has to make. And I think they have excellent coaching with Brad Stevens. I think Brad Stevens has enough for him to win himself a championship around maybe the next 5 years or so, if they keep their young core intact in Boston.
All right, hold on. Before you go on, Deshaun Isaac, scroll on their zone.
Or
Sports Unfiltered, Deshaun Isaac, he said, if you are the best, you need to be shooting 75% from the free throw line, 54% ain't cutting it. And then he also said absolutely nothing. Kyrie can't win a title without LeBron. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going there with none of y'all.
Because Kyrie's the best Robin probably the league has right now.
Yeah. And then he also said he had no connection to Charlotte, North Carolina, and MJ isn't enough to bring me there. I think he was talking about LeBron.
Yeah.
When you said LeBron, I'll go there. And then Zach Flair of 270 Hoops. He said, question, do you guys think Miami could have made this run outside the bubble? Hard to imagine a 5th seed winning 2 straight series on the road.
I do. I can see that happening. And the reason I say that is because Indiana was going to be a wounded duck regardless. Now, the sweeper situation, I find that different because the crowd has more of a say in it. Right. I think the home and away situation kind of makes things more even, where you can see the home court never matters anymore. You see a lot of we might win 2 straight on the road, technically the road, but really we're in the same area. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't think Miami travels to Milwaukee and wins 2 straight. I think that's a whole different ball game. But I think with Indiana, they want to sweep them regardless, just because Indiana didn't have enough. The bubble didn't hurt them, especially with a guy like Jimmy Butler, because, like you said, this is a business trip. Right. He didn't bring anybody. I can have family, friends here, all that. I come here to win and do my thing. So I think that mentality of being around your teammates and the kind of leader that Jimmy Butler is was enough to get it done in the bubble this way. I still think that they would have beat them, both teams, because I still think Milwaukee would have had the same problems that they had. I still think Indiana would have had the same issues that they had. The way that they beat them, I think that would have translated different, at least against Milwaukee, because at some point that home crowd was going to get them a win. That's what you play home court advantage of. But because you didn't have to deal with that, Jimmy Butler can do what he do, and he did it. They did it.
Okay, what about you, Marvin?
I wholeheartedly agree with T. I do believe that they wouldn't have went 7-0.
Did they go 7-0?
They went 7-0 before they lost their first game to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think they would have went 7-0 because I think that the Pacers have one of the most underrated home court advantages in the NBA. So I was expecting Indiana to win a game anyway. And like T said, they were wounded ducks out the gate. So there was nothing to winning that series for Miami. And I think that Miami would have still beat Milwaukee without the bubble. The reason for that is because I think Miami was the perfect team to expose Milwaukee in any given aspect anyway. They are rough, rugged. They can shoot. Giannis would have been a one-man wrecking crew, and it would just not have been enough. You know. Also, with Miami's home court advantage being outstanding as well, I think Miami has one of the best home court advantages in the league, and with them being as good as they are at home, I think that would have translated still very well like it does in the bubble. So that would have never really changed for me. I think that Miami would still be at where they're at right now.
Okay.
And another thing too about that that I want to add is I think that Miami would have had more of I would well excuse me I would have had more of a not thinking Miami would have been able to do it if their younger players had that much of a big factor in it, which I think those are the people who are affected more when you do a lot of traveling and dealing with road games and stuff like that. I don't think that Miami had to depend on the young guys as much. As you can see, Kendrick Nunn wasn't really out there getting minutes like that. He was getting sparingly minutes, but they spent a lot of time dealing with Jimmy Butler. I know Bam's still young, but Bam's a veteran. He's an all-star. And Goran Dragic. Those are the guys that they depended on the most. That kind of stuff travels well. So in that different kind of capacity, I think that they still would have been able to, do what they had to do. I just think that it might have been 4-2. Instead of being 4-1, I still think they would have, they would have dominated because, like I said earlier, they built a team built around to beat Milwaukee and Giannis, and they did just that. That team would have traveled. You know what I'm saying? Defense travels. Um, they're not a super offensive team, even though Jimmy Butler had his spurts. Like all the things that they do well, no matter where you are, they're going to do well at. I know Milwaukee had great defense. That traveled still, their shot making didn't. So I mean, they need to get out that bubble and get some fresh air themselves and kind of figure some stuff out. But
I mean, to be honest, I felt like the Indiana series would have went the same way. Like you said, the biggest factor was they were wounded, you know, and they were dependent on TJ.
yeah,
So like,
Who
Which
kind of
can-
fluked out.
who, I mean, and then you think like the bubble he went off, but would he have went off
He
if
fluked
it was
out.
regular? Like,
well, Jimmy Butler is his bully too.
Right.
So it's a mentality thing, and that's what takes them there though. Jimmy Butler he's a good to great player. But
right.
when he's out there, he feels like he's the best player on that court. And when you have
Yeah,
that
you got to.
mentality, you don't back down. You can take yourself places. But I think T.J. Warren had to elevate his game because their arguably best player was out, Sabonis. That's the biggest factor because Sabonis being there opens up everything for everybody else. I think T.J. Warren had to move up a spot. Oladipo had to move up a spot. Brogdon had to move up a spot. Speaking of Brogdon, that's who Milwaukee could have used at that. You could put Brogdon back on that team, you might have a whole different story.
That's a fact,
And then
man.
with the Milwaukee
On either
series,
Milwaukee or Indiana.
honestly, with the Milwaukee series, I feel like it would have went 7 at best.
I think, man, the Milwaukee losing out on
I
Malcolm
feel like
Brogdon was a
they would have got a
terrible move.
boost from their home crowd.
They would have, but I think Miami would have took something in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I know they would have took something, but I just still feel it would have went at least 7.
They didn't want to. It wouldn't have been a game 7 because you have to beat them in 6. You don't want to give them that home
Right.
court game 7, feeling that mode. And then who's to say that Giannis doesn't still get hurt?
True.
It's so many different variables. But yeah, Miami just looks like right now they're that team of destiny. At
Like
least
you said,
up
they
until this
looking
point.
like that 2011 Dallas team.
Yeah, look at the roster. If you compare against Indiana and Milwaukee, for example,
Right.
Miami, even though they play as great a defense as Milwaukee, but it's just deeper. Like they have a much deeper roster to them with talent. Like their bench is actually kind of underrated. You have Olynyk, you have Kendrick Nunn, you have Tyler Hero. Like that bench is nasty. You know, like it's just weird how their offense is put together. But you know, like when you have Jimmy Butler, who's not really a scorer, can drop a 40 piece.
You're not gonna mention Iguodala?
Iguodala too, with the veteran leadership of Iguodala. Pardon me. You know, that's scary. I believe that when it comes time for them to play Toronto, when it comes to Boston, I think they're going to play Boston. That's probably going to be the best series that we'll probably see the whole playoffs.
Better than the Lakers and Clippers? Let's be honest.
Because you have to understand, like outside of that series, we kind of know we have the high expectation of seeing. We kind of prepped ourselves to seeing that. Right. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of prepped our expectations. We kind of prepped what we're probably going to see and what we're probably not going to expect and stuff like that. But we like with the Eastern Conference, it's kind of a crapshoot because you don't know who's going to get what. So I mean, we already seen the Bucks being the number one team in the NBA get taken out, and that was a lot of our guess as going to the finals anyway. So, just the unpredictability factor of just that is just it's more so if you have less expectations, you get wowed more, you know, just by and plus two, look at both teams like I was speaking on how deep Miami is. Boston's just as deep, and Boston plays as good as defense as anybody. You know, so you also got to present the challenges of like who's Jimmy going to guard? Is he going to guard Jalen or is he going to guard Jason?
It don't matter because the way that they're playing like they're on a string. So it's more so it's like they're following Jimmy's lead. Like I can almost guarantee you, if you go into that locker room, they probably swear by that dude. You know, he's like an extra power up for them. You know, and that's what tells you a great leader is when you can play out of your mind. And Jimmy doesn't seem like, and I know he's had his problems with the past, but Jimmy seems like one of those dudes that if you bring your A game and you give me all you got, I can live with that. I can win with that. We can do our thing. He gets mad when there's wasted potential. That's why he wasn't a big fan of the Wiggins, Karl Towns situation because they should be better. He wasn't a fan of the Ben Simmons and B situation because they should be better. You look at Miami, they shouldn't be as good. But look at them because they come ready to play. They come with a one-track mind to do whatever they need to do to get the W. Nothing else matters. I don't care who gets the most shots. Nothing. So
see, that's why that man sits over there.
And then you know the craziest part about Jimmy Butler going to Miami wasn't a playoff team when he got there.
True.
And he picked them. They was not even a tap team. Like he just made his way because it was meant. It's like finding that love of your life. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of your loves of your life can be in Miami too, but that doesn't hurt. I hate it when LeBron win, but man, Jimmy Butler, I can understand
just
a little
been
bit.
the draw of the 305. You never know.
No, definitely the city of Miami.
Miami played a role.
Of course.
Yes,
of course.
I'll go play for the Heat.
But it's the fact of Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. And speaking of Eric Spoelstra,
underrated coach, huh?
I honestly believe that Eric Spoelstra is the coach of the bubble right now.
I'll give you that. He underrated coach. He truly is.
He's definitely underrated, especially without the Miami Heat big three.
Right.
You get to see him as a coach more.
Like I was about to say, like when it comes down to it, after that big three, he's probably the best coach LeBron probably ever had because he still holds on to.
Absolutely.
That Miami team was still consistent.
Absolutely. He's the best coach that LeBron's had in the league. Absolutely. I'll defer to that.
But
because that was the next segment, wasn't it? Just speaking of who's the best coach in the league, or maybe not in the league, but in the bubble.
Was a consistency between PG and
Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray, yeah. All right.
Well, just to get the coaching thing out the way.
I mean, I was gonna go on break.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, man. Once again, out here trying to
tangent. How's it a tangent if it's on the list? That's different.
No, we went on like a whole tangent about LeBron, Kyrie, and all that.
But you just said tangent after me speaking on what was on the rundown.
I'm saying though,
it don't count.
It's an extended tangent.
No, it's not. Oh my god, y'all just want to use that word tangent with me. That's cool. I understand, bro. It's all right. It's all right. At least y'all got my vote.
When we come back, we gonna talk about who's more consistent, PG or Jamal Murray, in this LA versus Denver series. All right, catch y'all in a minute. And we back.
Hey.
Stop listening to Chance. That's crazy. Yeah, we back. I know y'all saw that. I am about to butcher this name again, and I just heard it. That Cosba walk, run, row, 5K, virtual 5K. From nah, I should be having this up. I done messed it up.
We need to start sponsorship.
That is wild.
Man,
It's from October 2nd to October 4th. Look, make sure y'all pay attention to that. Make sure y'all pay attention to that. Make sure y'all shout out.
Just play.
It did just play.
You just forgot to.
Man, I had to play a lot of commercials, but make sure y'all hit up Travis for that, man.
We'll never
for real.
Travis who?
Travis Snapper.
Thank you.
Make sure y'all hit him up, man.
Yeah, I'm about to hit Travis Scott. Like what you know about this, bro?
Travis is all around the world. I'm like, what you talking about?
Travis Barker with the remix, you know what I'm saying?
Gonna call Travis Knight.
Travis Snapper, Loganity fame. Hit him up. Or just all that other stuff. Y'all be knocking me off. I swear to God, y'all be knocking me off.
You gotta stay poised in the pocket, bro. That's what we do.
Man, this is the worst.
Look, man.
Try again.
Also, make sure y'all check us out at scoreonair.com or Score On Air Network at facebook.com, where we have all our daily blogs. Our live streams, any broadcasts we're doing. Just make sure y'all check us out, scoreonair.com.
Please do. We really appreciate the support.
Talking in the middle of me just doing my little.
I was just so happy. I know. I was just so happy for you. Like, you finally doing something you're supposed to do. And it was just like, I got too excited. My fault. I'm sorry.
Y'all making it seem like I ain't never doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That's crazy.
I wouldn't say never, but man.
It's rare,
Like you hit the and ones, but boy, them open shots, man. It's just.
I be missing them open shots.
If it's free throw line, it just
I'm
crushes
like Danny
you,
Green out there, boy.
Man.
No, you looking like Giannis out there from free throw.
I can't even be making some.
It's like, okay.
I mean, 54% is making some.
But at least let me get.
You like
Baby
Chris
Green,
Paul
man.
with the contested shots, but at the same time, it's just like you're Shaq from 3. So it's like.
Hey, I made one. So
1 out of 26.
All right, bro. All right.
Today.
You'll get better.
I'll get better. Yeah.
I'll be Jimmy Butler. This is our Miami Heat. We'll get better.
That's great.
Bam. Out of the bio.
I'm getting Cavs. Always a Cavs.
All right, man. Let's get back on.
I will come to Miami though.
It's Markola Velkic out here, man.
Any of my listeners live in Miami, go ahead and send your boy a ticket.
Markola Velkic, you know what I'm saying?
It could be a one-way
greatest
ticket
fast
too.
lane in the world.
You see what I be trying? I be trying to get us off these tangents, and they just be going.
We talked about Miami though. I just in case that
we were talking about teams during the playoffs.
We on a whole nother topic right now. We talking PG or Jamal Murray, who's more consistent, especially in this series against each other.
Oh, this is bad.
It's your team too.
Yeah, but this is bad, and I'm gonna tell you why this is bad. I've been trying to tell people about Jamal Murray for years now.
Yeah, you've been telling us these last 3 episodes.
Yeah, like it's my team. Like, why can't y'all just believe me when I tell y'all these things? Not y'all specifically, but Jamal Murray is one of those players that you just want him to get it together consistently. That's all you want out of him. Because think about it. When he first came into the league from out of Kentucky University, he wasn't a true 1 guard. He came out as a 2 guard. And the reason why we put him at the 1 was because we drafted Gary Harris at the 2, and he was more of a solidified 2. So, and we needed a 1. So we were just like, okay, Jamal, you have a bit of point guard skills. Just play the 1 for us, bucko. So with him always being a scoring guard, you're going to always look for him to score and not facilitate as much, especially when we have Jokic. He never loses. He's one of those, he's never lost his confidence kind of shooters. Like, I've watched him from high school now. He's always had that shooting confidence. It's just, and he's always had a bit of a touch. It's just always finding his shots. And some of his shot selections are bad. He's like, I hate to say it. I really do. Well, no, I'm not going to go that far. When he plays inconsistently, He's like J.R. Smith, but like a high upgrade better than J.R. Smith.
Pause. Was that the comparison you wasn't gonna go with?
Yes.
You went with it.
Yes.
First off, can we not disrespect J.R. Smith?
He's a champ, bucko.
Exactly. He held down Denver for some years now.
Man.
Okay, so Ricky Rubio could play like Derek Fisher. Am I disrespecting Derek Fisher?
Yeah,
he's a champion.
You not gonna say something different? I'm consistent.
I'm sorry. I'll never argue this again. But okay, so in a more retrospect, I think that you could kind of compare Jamal Murray to a Gilbert Arenas with a lot of inconsistencies.
See, I like that much.
I'll give you that one.
Yeah, it's just a lot of inconsistencies. And with Paul George is consistently inconsistent.
Gotta love that.
So it's just like, you know what you're getting. He's Giannis basically. In a sense of like, he's great in the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, where are you at? Pandemic P is real. And it's scary because, like, with these comparisons of these two players specifically, with Murray, you'll get like a 33, 34 point game, and in the next 4 games, he'll get like 13, 17, and maybe 20. It's just, what are we doing here? You know, you're averaging out to like 19, 20 points a game. Still, like, we are looking at you. We've looked at you as the second option for years. Potentially a first option. We need you to step that up, bro. You're lucky we have Michael Porter Jr., who's going to be looking like the number 1 option offensively soon, once he gets some type of rhythm together, you know? So, again, it comes back to my point of a lot of these players in the league are bona fide number 2s or glorified number 2s or glorified or bona fide number 3s in the league. That's kind of my point. You know what I'm saying? Like, you looked at Paul George as the number 1 option, and we learned that he wasn't, so now he has to be a bona fide 2. Now he's looking like a glorified 2. And then we're looking at Jamal Murray as a bona fide 2. We paid him like a bona fide 2. But with his inconsistencies, he's teeter-tottering from bona fide to glorified. You see what I mean? So my instance is, who's more consistent? I would say Paul, due to the simple fact of where he's been at in his career, but who needs to be more consistent? Again, Paul, because he's on a championship team right now. He's on a championship contending team. Not to say Denver's not championship contending, but who's most likely to win the series before it even started? Denver's still young. We're still making heavy mistakes, you know? And then this team right here is the Clippers are built to beat the team that we're all looking at to make the finals, or a LeBron James-led team in itself. So who needs to be there? Oh yeah, Paul George. It's kind of his career's on the line here. With Murray, it's just like you just started basically. With Paul, it's like you've been here for almost a decade, bro, and this is your first time out of the first round in almost 6 years, or probably 6 years. So we need you to step up, and you're playing with a top candidate for player of the world. What are you doing but bringing us down, scoring 14 to 17 points a game while shooting like 17 of 19 from the field? We don't need that. What were we talking about before with his free throws? He was shooting like what, 50% from free throws, something like that?
Who was?
Paul George?
I think that was Middleton.
Oh, that was Middleton? I'm sorry. My apologies. But again, his shooting splits have been horrible. So we need him to step that up. And as for Murray, we know what you need to work on, bro. I'm older than you. And, you know, you have some time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm older than Murray. Yeah, that's nuts. Why am I not in the league right now? This is Mr. 40 Freshaw right now, right here in front of your face.
All right. But before you go on about your point, T, tell us a little bit about that shirt, though.
Oh, my good old scoring air player of the game, 270 hoop shirt. This was given out to every basketball player of the game, that games that we did last year.
Right.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm rocking last year's gear. But this year we're also doing the same thing with the football players. We have the Friday night final show, and after each week we have a poll, and people get to vote on it and let us know who is your top football player of that week, and they get a nice cool shirt that I could also get me one and rock that. Make sure I'm the player of the game every week.
Yes, sir.
Also brought to you by Mojo Sports Gear.
Nice little plug right there. Nice little plug. Also,
Sponsors.
check out Ohio Bias Show Friday. That's before Friday night final. Make sure y'all check both those out.
Check
But,
everything out.
yeah, sure.
Don't
Yeah.
be a hater. Support.
Support.
But anyway, back to your question. I think Jamal Murray has been more consistent, and he's had to be. I think there's less room for error for Denver. I think Jamal Murray has to be good. We're looking at a situation where Paul George doesn't have to bring his A game because Paul George doesn't bring his A game. Lou Williams can bring his. Montrezl Harrell can bring his. The list goes on and on. Not to say that Denver's not stacked, because Denver's stacked too. Both teams are stacked. Obviously, you're the second and third seed, and you're in the situation. You're stacked. But at the end of the day, I think that the the margin for error is a whole lot smaller when it comes down to what Jamal Murray brings to the table. Because you're not even in this round right now if Jamal Murray didn't bring the consistency that he brought. Because you needed somebody that can go toe to toe with Donovan Mitchell, and he proved that he can do that. And not just prove that he can do that, he proved that he can flourish by doing that. Jamal Murray took his game to a whole nother level this playoff time. I think Paul George, he kind of knows that he doesn't have to bring his A game. He doesn't have to be the best PG that he can be, and they can still get a win. And he's let that kind of get in his head a little bit. I think he's kind of brought that attitude, that mentality, and you can see that he's going to need to step it up when the time comes. Preferably next series. I think right now you can kind of do what you have to do. And I think one underrated factor that had to do with all of that is Paul George was having to guard Luca last series. That's a huge deal. This series, he's not guarding Jamal Murray like that. He's guarding Jerry and Grant a lot of times. I'm seeing him a little time on Michael Porter. He's guarding Gary Harris a little bit. He's guarding Torrey Craig. Paul George can kind of get back into his mode and kind of get his footing back. But Jamal Murray has to be great every day. So I think the question is who's been more consistent. It's been Jamal Murray, but that's more so because he has to be the more consistent player.
Okay. All right. Well, I agree with both of y'all on that point. I'm not really paying attention to that series, so I couldn't tell you who. I mean, I can tell you who should be more consistent is PG, but I can't tell you who has been more consistent and who hasn't. So, I'll defer to y'all on that. But now we're about to talk about who has been the best coach in the playoffs so far. And before we go on, I would like to say that since we mentioned Billy Donovan earlier, it seems that his contract ran out at OKC. Well, this was reported yesterday. His contract ran out at OKC, and he won't be returning. So,
And another news is that a team that's eyeing Billy Donovan right now is the Chicago Bulls.
that might be a nice fit.
I think he kind of. I don't want to speak for him obviously, but I think that might be a role for him. I think that he kind of came in as a more of a player development coach, and look at his background being a college coach. So I think that Oklahoma was kind of accelerated. I mean, you knew you was coming to Coach Russell. I can't remember if he came when Durant came or not. That's kind of lost in the sauce right now for me.
Who's that?
Billy Donovan.
No, when KD left.
Okay, he came after that.
Yeah,
But
because they had Scott Brooks.
okay, yeah, that's right. He still came into a team with Russell Westbrook where you're expected to win. I think he may have wanted to develop a little bit more, and that timeline goes a little bit different when that happens. I think that some might have struck his chord by looking at what he did this year. You can look at Dort as a prime example. Nobody even knew who Dort was at the beginning of the season, and by the end of the season, granted he got a shot blocked by James Harden, but Dort is giving you 30, and he's shooting a potential game-winning shot. That's player development all day. And I think Billy Donovan is looking at a situation like in Chicago, which ain't too far off. You got Zach Levine, you got Kobe White, you got Marketing, you got Otto Porter, you got another pick coming in. You have some stuff to work with, and you're out east. So I think that he just, kind of, I did what I could do in Oklahoma. Let me check my other options and see what we can come up with.
Also, did you say he was after Durant or with Durant?
No, we were saying Billy Donovan became the coach of OKC when KD left.
He was there at KD's last year.
Was
he was the head coach, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, so he came in a situation where it was built on winning and less on development. And some coaches want to be player development coaches. Not every coach wants to come in and you always want to win, but not all. Every coach looks at that as the end all be all. We're gonna win now. So I mean, shout out to Billy Donovan for doing what he wants to do, and shout out to Oklahoma City for going in that direction. And you never heard nothing about it. Up until this point, they kept it on the hush. So sweet.
I absolutely agree with T. Honestly, before the season started, I actually had the Chicago Bulls being an 8th seed in the playoffs. I thought they had the talent to be in the playoffs this year. And with the young talent that the Chicago Bulls do have, and with a developmental coach with Billy Donovan, especially with him running more of a college-based system, having young players, young athletic players at that, that show a lot of tremendous skill, specifically being Zach LaVine, Kobe White, Laurie Markkinen, Wendell Carter Jr., who else is there? Otto Porter. Yeah, players along those lines. I think that would be a great pace team for Billy Donovan to run. And again, with him being in the Eastern Conference, having a bit of lower expectations other than having a young core in the Chicago Bulls organization that really has kind of fell off ever since losing Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose. Rose before the Dreads, actually. So this is kind of a fresh start for Chicago if they were to go this direction. I actually like this direction a lot. I actually like it more than I thought coming into it this morning. The more I thought about it, but back to who's the best coach in the bubble right now in the playoffs? Definitely Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, I was about to say it's Eric Spoelstra.
It has to be Eric Spoelstra because one, you eliminated the best team in the league record wise. Two, you beat a defensive player of the year and perhaps MVP of this season.
Oh, come on now.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just speaking.
After what just happened, I don't know about
that. But are they going to really count that into a regular season award? If they do, then we all that's the prime example of all the awards being narrative awards instead of actually giving the player who deserves it.
This one is definitely a narrative award.
Yeah, I think that MVP in NBA is probably the biggest narrative award in sports. Right. Other than maybe the Heisman.
I don't know about that one.
Maybe not the Heisman because a lot of the Heisman winners do deserve to win. Yeah. But it was more controversial in the 90s. But, who cares? So, also Eric Spoelstra led his team to, again, a 7-0 run in the playoffs. Almost sweeping the defending Eastern Conference champion, or not defending Eastern Conference champions, but runner-ups. So you gotta look at it with the roster what he has too. I'm not saying Jimmy Butler is trash or anything. I'm just saying like you're winning this much as a 5th seed going into the Eastern Conference, and the the 5th seed in the Eastern Conference hasn't made it to the Eastern Conference final.
It kind of plays on what you've been saying this whole episode. Like there's a lot of number 2s that are like glorified number 1s.
Right.
You say Jimmy Butler is a number 2. He's playing like a number 1, and he's being a leader like a number 1.
Right.
So,
but and it's just the roster that he has that can help the narrative of him being the best coach. He doesn't have the biggest superstar in the bubble.
Right.
He has Jimmy Butler. He has the best leader in the bubble. That's facts. Jimmy Butler's the best leader in the league right now. So he has the best leader. He has one of the most rugged teams. He has one of the best defensive teams. And he's using it very well. He's a very smart coach. He's a very capable coach. He's a championship coach. So, yeah, I would go with, I think he's better than Frank Vogel. I think he's better. Well, it's okay. You have Brad Stevens. That could be a debate there, but.
We know how great Brad Stevens is, though.
Right. We have Nick Nurse as well. I mean, really, the best coaches are out east right now.
Yeah.
Which is surprising.
Well, the best coaches is one thing, but the best coach in the bubble it has to be Spoelstra, just because what he's been able to do. If we're talking before that, obviously Monty Williams was the guy, but as far as what's happening, in the playoffs, it's obviously Spoelstra. He's done what he had to do. And one thing I do want to say, this has nothing to do with the current best coach, but one thing that we weren't able to speak on because it happened the day after this show last week, a certain Mr. Stephen Nash has gotten a head coach job with the Nets. And all this coach talk got me to one thing. And I need to say this. I wish we had a cameraman so I could do something real cool. Like, cameraman, get up real close.
Oh, you want me to zoom in on you?
Real close.
Just right here, cameraman.
Oh, you can zoom me in? That's
Let me
right.
see
You
if I
can
can do
zoom
it.
in.
Hold up.
Can we get a
There
close
we
up
go.
for him,
There-
Mr. Cameraman?
My man's. Now you done blew it. My moment, you done took it away.
Bro,
Okay.
you are
You right
there,
here.
bro.
I'm saying I wasn't there.
You good, bro? You good?
ISO ball.
Okay, anyway.
ISO.
Cameraman.
Hold
I
on.
appreciate
Clear
you.
it out. Clear it out.
Hold on. There you go.
Thank you. I'm talking to one person only. Stephen A. Smith. Go on somewhere with that, bruh. He goes crazy about Steve Nash getting hired because he's white and
Get
he's
him.
had no interview.
Get him.
He made it seem like this is so unprecedented that this never happened before. Like Derek Fisher didn't exist. Like Tyronn Lue didn't exist. Like Jason Kidd didn't exist. I know these brothers are light skinned, but they still black. Stephen A. Smith says things for the shock factor. He don't fact check for nothing, and he sounds stupid. I didn't mix words. He sounds stupid. That's dumb. That's outlandish. Do your job better. How about that? I shouldn't have to sit up here and tell you there's been other coaches that got hired like that. But you want to make it into a race thing? It ain't a race thing. That was a smart move. Let's try Steve Nash out. Instead of going with these same retreats, instead of calling Thibodeau back for the 15th time and saying, come coach my team, instead of saying, well, maybe Billy Donovan comes available, none of that. Let's just go call Steve Nash and see if he has some interest. He did, and now all it becomes a race subject. Nah, bruh. Know where you shoot your shot at. And I'm done.
Talk to him. Nice.
I'm done.
Okay, he went in.
That's just stupid, man. Stupid, and it's disrespectful.
Don
and
DeMarco.
you have a job as a media personality to at least know what you're talking about. Not saying things for the shock factor. Say it because it's true.
All right.
Flat. But anyway, yeah. Eric Spoelstra, best coach in the bubble.
Marvell, get a
I'm
little
done.
bit more in frame. All right.
I thought he was about to say period and then it with a T, like a period, like you know what I'm saying, like a capital T.
Period. I don't even know how to say that. But wow, we had our friend over here
I got some comments too.
going in. I'm gonna mention what Cody just said real quick because he's trolling. But let's talk about Cody.
When ain't he
He's talking about
trolling?
Harden.
Now he's talking about Rajon Rondo.
No,
He said
His favorite player in the
yes,
league.
sir. He said, "Hey, Rondell, longtime friend of the program," which he did yesterday at the time, by the way. But he said, "Quick question before I let y'all get back to it. Why is Rajon Rondo the greatest point guard of all time? Also, do you think that he could one day surprise Michael? Like Sheets, he went off last night. Also, maybe we shouldn't consider Giannis at a superstar level. Where was he in this past series? He made Tyler Hero look like an MVP, and he was afraid to guard Jimmy Butler. Thanks, guys. I'll hang up and listen now." I would like to just say, you got a lot to say, Cody. How about you resurrect Ball Don't Lie?
Oh,
Yes, sir.
Mm-mm.
here, Eddie.
All right, for my comments, I have my
That's
boy
fine.
Chango Jameson. He says the East is overrated. I'll give him that.
Wait, he said who's overrated?
The East is overrated. He called Stephen A. Coon. I'll give him that one too.
Okay.
That's
deep.
different.
And he said Steve Nash is going to get it done.
For Brooklyn?
Hmm?
Hello,
I mean, it's hard
Brooklyn.
not to get it done when you start the team off with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. I mean, that's not hard at all. But I mean, I do think that it was a smart move though, trying to be innovative. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what these other coaches bring. Like, nobody has ever thought to call Steve Nash. But to make it a race thing is a whole different ballgame because you don't have any facts to support that.
Right.
It's happened before with black coaches before. You know what I'm saying? So it's just he's the same guy that sat up here and said, I booed the Porzingis pick because I'd never seen him play. My dude, there's YouTube. It exists. The Knicks are your favorite team. That exists. Not one time in your your transportation did you think to bring up YouTube and type in Porzingis? Could you not spell it? Are you
That's
so
probably
used to
it.
the ignorance that you can't spell?
I can't spell it. I can't even spell Kristaps, so we don't be honest.
Look, spell check's your friend. I tell you this all the time. Google will help finish the word.
But real quick, let's actually take what Cody said a little bit serious and just touch on it real quick.
We have to take Cody serious.
I mean,
Oh.
we took
Imagine
Deshaun's
that.
question serious. We answered Zach's question. Let's answer Cody.
Well, there are more serious people.
I know, but
He just wants to be nice.
He's a long time friend of the
He is a
program.
lot nicer than I am.
Yeah. So why is Rajon Rondo the greatest point guard of all time? He's not.
No, he's not.
Next.
Obviously.
Alright.
Moving on.
Will he surprise Michael? Or is that supposed to be surprise? I don't know what that's
I
supposed
Yeah,
think
to be.
he's
he'll
trying to say
surprise Michael.
surpass. He's still
Michael Myers.
Spell check is your friend, Cody. What was that?
Michael Pietrus.
What's the next one? Okay, should we? Maybe we shouldn't consider Giannis a superstar level. Would y'all believe on that?
I think Giannis is a superstar. It's just that you need some help. Like there's the whole notion that somebody does it alone. Where? Like that's my thing. You always hear, oh, he can't do it by himself. Who's ever done it by himself? LeBron's never done it by himself.
I mean, he took a team to the finals. He got swept, but he did it by himself.
So why
Did you
does
not watch
no
the
one ever
Versus
think
battle?
of Allen Iverson first?
Did you not watch
He
the
at
versus
least
battle
won a game.
What versus
with
battle?
Brandy and Monica?
What about it?
Because you would have heard almost don't count.
That's crazy.
I'm just saying.
That's hilarious.
Oh, man.
Got him.
It doesn't.
Okay.
So I don't want to hear about the LeBron took his team to the finals. Did he win?
He got swept. He got
Yes.
swept twice.
So he didn't do it on his own.
Oh.
There's never been a player in NBA history that did it on his own. So I mean, it's Giannis needs a better team around him. He needs a better leader. He needs a better scorer. He needs a better teammate. Yes, absolutely. But I think he's still a superstar. You can still be a superstar and need all that. Because is LeBron less of a superstar because he doesn't win every year? Because it's always going to be one winner. So we're going to have a team full of 15 superstars just because they won. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Either Kawhi or LeBron won't have a championship this year. Maybe both of them. Either Jokic won't have a championship year. Damian Lillard's not going to have a championship this year. Obviously Giannis won't have one. Like the list goes on and on, but you just can't knock that because they didn't win it this year. Superstars are guys that put your team in contention. I think if I can put you on my squad and say we have a shot, that makes you a superstar. That's why I can agree that LeBron is a superstar. I mean, obviously was, but LeBron under that notion was a superstar because he got you to the playoffs every year. He got you into a high seed every year. He got you fighting for a championship every year. That's what a true superstar is. Again, not everybody wins it. So.
All right. What about you, Marvell? You don't want to answer the last
I
one?
mean, there's nothing wrong that T said at all. It's just that you can be a superstar all you want. It's just people will downgrade you to a superstar to a star just because of like the lack of hope that you have. It's just, for example, like we don't look at stars as stars because there could be in a terrible situation. We can talk about Bradley Beal all day being a star, but no one will really realize it because he's never really made an All-Stars. And he's stuck in a crappy organization with the Washington Wizards and a terrible contract with John Wall involved in it. So, I mean, yeah, we also have that kind of love for people such as Devin Booker, because I guess Devin Booker has more of a fan base than Beal does. So that kind of helps Devin Booker keep his name up.
That's hurtful.
So it's just like they do relatively the same thing for their team as far as like leading them scoring wise and trying to carry them to win and still lose. We gotta respect them though because they really are stars. It's just they don't have no help. Same thing with a superstar. We'll downgrade Giannis at some point if he doesn't get any type of help, and that's what's detrimental to their career, and that's what makes them so insecure. And that's what makes them join super teams and whatnot. Because we kind of make them insecure about their spot because, again, they don't have any help. So it's just like whenever they get help and they get super help, we look at them like, what are you doing? It's kind of a double standard thing.
I have a phrase that I commonly use, and I really find myself using it entirely too much nowadays. But I always say that losers always put you in lose-lose situations, no matter what. They will clown you for getting bounced early, but then they'll clown you for joining another superstar. At the end of the day, it's about what fits your situation and your criteria at a certain time. And there's just like anything else, there's levels to it. So and I can hear Cody right now. Well, Kevin Durant went to Golden State, and what's so different about that? It's still levels to it. That kind of help you don't need because that's an excessive amount of help. That's making it easy for you so you don't have to do what you do. The best type of help you can have so you can still be the kind of player that you are, but you have enough around you that even if you have an off game, they can be able to pick you up because you complement each other's style. Not to put yourself in a situation where there's almost no way you lose out of that. And I think for a guy like Giannis, I wouldn't knock him if he left, but I wouldn't knock him if he stayed either. It's just that he needs to be transparent with the front office and let them know, okay, this is what I want. This is what I need. And you can knock Kawhi for it, but Kawhi did kind of the same thing. I'll come sign with you, but bring me a Paul George over here. Now, whether he regrets that or not right now is a whole different story. I'm sure he doesn't because of where they're at right now. But these athletes are painted as perfection a lot of times. They're painted as being flawless a lot of times. And then when this kind of stuff happens, now everybody wants to clown Giannis. Which, granted, you lose, you deserve it. But at the same time, don't clown him if he goes get some help. Don't clown him if he wants some better teammates around him because he's shown with these teammates right now he can't do what they have to do. If I want to truly be a superstar, because to me, being a superstar really means getting it done no matter what. Whatever situation you are, getting over that hump, that's what makes it sweeter. Sometimes you're supposed to lose. That's what makes winning so much better. But it's doing what you need to do to help further your career the best way that can happen that still keeps the competitive balance of the game. That's something Durant didn't do. That's something I'm looking for Giannis to do. So rather it's Milwaukee, stays in Miami, whatever. Not stay in Miami, but go to Miami, wherever the case may be. I just need him to go another level because he needs to go another level. He's a superstar right now, but to be elite superstar, you got to be able to have a turnaround jump shot at some point in time. You got to be able to hit somebody with an in and out and cut that. You got to be able to do so much more than just put your head down, bully straight to the lane. You just have to adjust. So we'll see.
All right. Well, we're at the end of our show. We did have 2 more segments, but a lot of tangents. But we gonna keep those 2 segments in the cut, or we gonna keep them clutched to us, and we gonna bring them next episode to sound a little bit more better and professional.
Yay!
But since we're at the end of our show, any last thing y'all want to say? Shout out social medias, anything?
Check out all our shows. Like I said, don't be a hater. Support, share, like. Freaking requests, it don't matter. Whatever you can do to show some love. We can take some sponsors too. So if you're doing some cool little things, hit us up. You can hit me at T Nesbitt on Facebook. My Instagram is TNesbitt85. Snapchat's TNes614, excuse me. And we also have the Open Gym page on Facebook. So go ahead and check out any one of them. Drop a line. Holla at your boy, whatever. Or don't. And I'll come find you. Mr. Man.
I'll come find you.
You gotta threaten him a little bit.
I mean, look, you can find me on Facebook, Rondell Sutherland, or Instagram, R.Sutherland Films. Just know I do not be on R.Sutherland.
So I can't say come find. I'll come find
saying that then.
But
if
you
not
can
gonna
say
respond
I
to your
don't
fans.
answer my DMs.
You might really have a die-hard fan that
You know what
watches
it
this
is?
show and it just.
No.
If you want to
No.
hit
He's an
my
IG honey. That's what it is. We figured it out. Rondell's an IG honey.
Oh,
IG honey?
You're
that's
IG
what it is.
honey. That's
Well,
why you
IG
coming in
honey.
tired. All them selfies.
Look, I don't take no selfies.
Be going
alright?
lie. You got the one fans.
Nah, bro. I ain't got-
Pulling
I
up
ain't
the
got
page.
none
You
of
an
that.
IG scam.
I ain't got none of that. Look, you can hit my DMs. I will try my best to hit you back.
You won't.
Whatever, bro. Marvel, what you got?
Greatest fathlete in the world.
All right, we're done.
Well, now you would get a chance. Greatest fathlete in the world. I am him. It's marvelous, man. Greatest of all time. Hit us up for ideas on the show, or hit me up for ideas on the show that you would like to see us discuss basketball related. And hit me on my social medias. And this is going to make you watch the show. If you don't know my social medias, go watch the end of any episode, but watch the whole thing though. And I'm glad to be with my colleagues once again. T. Rondell, one of the best groups we could ever be. And I'm glad to be the leader. This is great. And I'll see y'all later, man.
Leader.
I'm in this chair. Yeah, he's the leader.
About a 2-liter.
All right, see y'all next time.
What's wrong with my